How you doing, listeners? This is Gina Versa here on another episode of Serving Up Comics, and I'm joined, as always, by my friend and cohort, Nick Valero. How are you, Nick?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Good, good.
Are you? How have you been doing? I haven't seen you in a month.
Good, good. It's just my hair is super long, so
Oh,
I need to get that
okay.
cut.
Well, you could.
I have the haircut of
Mhm,
a pandemic person.
yeah. Well, you could get like your mom to cut it for you if you want.
No, 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 no.
All
I,
right.
I I saw what she did to my dad. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, all right. Just keep it long, man, or just dye it again, like you had it, like Guy Fieri that one year, 6 years ago,
You know what the
where
sad part is that
you lost a bet.
I thought about it and I'm kind of down. I
You
am
kind of,
kind of down.
yeah, dude. I mean,
Like
you have,
do
yeah,
blonde again. That was kind of fun. That was
yeah,
pretty fun.
you have all this time in lockdown, but today we're joined by our good friend of the show. He was here in November talking Wonder Woman, and he's here again to talk WandaVision and Batman. Rob Godinez, how are you?
Hey, thank you, Gene and Nick. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. My wife actually does okay with the haircut,
Oh,
so
nice.
it's longer than normal or than it was before, but
Yeah.
kind of like it. Probably going to keep it this way once things return to normal in 2029.
No, I mean, I'm digging it. You just gotta, keep your signature beard. Just don't change it.
The only time I've ever changed it is when
Mhm.
I'm trying to shave early in the morning and I accidentally.
Uh,
I was like, oh, well, guess I'm clean shaven for a week now.
yeah. I know it's like does yours mine grows back like almost instantly as soon as I shave. I have like just like Homer. I just like from The Simpsons like 5 o'clock shadow. But no, how have you been? Thanks for joining us again.
Oh yeah, no, I've been like I said, I've been doing great. Distance learning, guess distance teaching in my case, and
Hmm.
yeah, no, everything's been pretty chill. Glad vaccines are rolling out, and
Yeah.
really glad you shot your thing, and everybody at Waffle Press did that thing on the COVID vaccine and getting
Yes.
that out. That was really cool, and I'm glad you guys did that.
Hmm. Yeah, this that episode we talked to a biologist, and he's also a cancer researcher, our good friend Soren Howe. That'll be out as of this recording probably next week. And we talked to him about the safety and the science behind vaccines. So it's like a special PSA. Yeah. So vaccine advocacy all the way.
Absolutely.
Many as many. I think Biden said, if you could get it, just get it. So definitely pushing for that. Because yeah, I mean, it's easy. It doesn't hurt. Rob, you had it.
Yep, absolutely. I had my first dose. First dose.
First dose. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And yeah, if everyone gets it, we could go back to normal. So
Wow.
yeah, it's saving
I'm just
lives.
hoping.
Mhm.
I'm hoping Pfizer versus Moderna will be the new Marvel versus DC of our time.
Oh, well, as of this recording, Johnson and Johnson just got approved by the FDA. So
That's Image.
oh, that's Image. Okay,
That's
there you
Image.
go.
It's Image Comics.
It's Image. I was like small.
So they're just gonna have like all the darker but better stories.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Well, hopefully it doesn't like was it like just like stop like after like what like 2 years, 3 years just for now.
That'd be cross gen. That would be cross gen.
Oh.
Right. That's
Oh man, some of those 90s publishing. But speaking of comics, just catching up, what are we reading, guys? Is there any comic books we want to recommend to any listeners out there?
I'm still catching up on what was it on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen it, you haven't caught up on it or anything like that, it is an awesome story. I definitely recommend it. It really does kind of dive into the mentality of like of the team, seeing as the team isn't there, you only have one turtle left, and it's really all about that last turtle kind of dealing with the duty and the responsibility it is to be the last Ninja Turtle and to also get revenge for his brothers. Uh, go check it out. It's really awesome. It's only had a couple of issues, so it's easy to catch up right now. So
Nice.
I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I love the Turtles. I'm waiting on the graphic novel to read that like all at once.
Honestly, yeah, because every single time that I get to like the end of an issue, I really want to keep going.
Mhm.
So that is it's the slippery slope that I'm in right now. Of I started it before it was a graphic novel.
Gotcha. Rob, do you find yourself like reading single or like graphic novels now?
I'm
Is
mostly
it-
still a singles reader, but I have been going back and like picking up the graphic novels and trades of things that I missed when they came out the first time.
Mhm.
So most of everything I'm getting now, I'm mostly getting in singles, but things that again I missed. So if something comes out now and I hear later I should have read it, I'll go back and when those come out in trades and
Yeah.
get those.
Yeah, I mean like any way to read comics is like, there's no wrong or right way as long as you like, read the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might, just given space considerations, might have to, think about doing digital for some
Hmm.
soon. Just
True.
I'm running out of places to put them,
Yeah, or
so,
like yeah, selling some too.
or just handing old boxes to Gene.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, got
Uh,
two of them right here. So.
I'll take it when, everything's safe.
Well,
I've,
5 weeks, right?
Yeah,
For
there you
us, at
go.
least. Right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
But
think I already have enough boxes. I
yeah,
have too
Nick,
many
give
boxes.
some to Nick. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was selling some like comics on Macari and stuff, and I'm like, I have because I've been at my parents' house for the last the last month helping them out with the vaccine stuff,
Mhm.
and I'm in my old high school room, and I'm like, man, I had a shit ton of comics in here. There's like too many because I only took like a certain one to my apartment,
I
and
don't
I'm
Well,
know
like,
how
there's too
you fit
many.
all the comic books inside of that room.
Hmm.
I really don't.
It's all in my closet. Like there's like 6 or 7 long boxes. I'm
if
like,
my living room were clean right now, I'd take you on a tour and show you the boxes I have.
oh dang.
Maybe next time. I'll
Yeah,
clean.
dude.
I'll clean up
No,
before this.
for sure. Have to have some out. But yeah, I read recently, I got graphic novel of Spider-Man Life Story, which I would really recommend.
Mhm.
Have you read it, Rob? Or
Yeah, I did read it. Chip
nice.
Zdarsky.
Hmm. I
So good.
I loved it because like the way they weave like all the different eras of like Spider-Man because it has um my favorite actually I think he's actually my favorite Spider-Man artist because I think your favorite like artist or like even like character artist is like the one you grew up with as a kid. So mine was like Ultimate Spider-Man, so it was Mark Bagley. So like the fact that like he got to draw it and he hasn't drawn Spider-Man for a while, I don't think so, like at least like 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the fact he got to draw it and like just seeing his cap and his Spider-Man, like I love like the way he draws Spider-Man, his like, you know, the like the poses of the character. And yeah, they weave like the Stan and Ditko era in the 60s and then 70s with like Gary Conway and you get like all the McFarlane symbiote stuff and like the fact that they even have like Miles Morales at the very end was like that was just brilliant because yeah, I love so much about that and even like stuff like the Clone Saga, which we kind of like clone on now, they actually made it like interesting or like at least good in my opinion.
Yeah, Clone Saga. I remember when that was coming out.
Oh God.
That's what would have happened if Lost never had an ending date. Because that's what happened to Clone Saga. They had a
Mhm.
story to tell, and it sold really well. So they said, "Keep it going."
Mhm. And then
And eventually, it was like, "End it." And they're like, "We can't now. There's too much."
yeah, like oh, man, like people always like say like well like Death of Superman in the Return was like too long and it was too whatever. But yeah, I think like Clone Wars because Clone Wars like or sorry, why did I say Clone Wars? Excuse me, Clone Saga is was
It's a
like
franchise, bro. It's
yeah,
a
exactly.
franchise.
They realized like what like halfway through like oh wait we fucked up like Ben Riley was the real Spider-Man like people don't like this, it's like at a certain point like all the fan backlash because
Yeah.
I wasn't collecting I was like 2 back then but like all the fan backlash I would imagine would have like intimidated
Oh.
them.
Marvel did a one shot that if you could ever track down, it's amazing. It's like I can't remember what it was called, like How to End the Clone Saga.
Hmm.
And it was the story of the entire Marvel writers and editors arguing over like different ways they would end the Clone Saga, and it literally ends with, "Wait, Norman Osborn? Nah, nobody would buy that."
Yeah.
Right. So they had a sense of humor about it as well, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least, I mean, and you know, the character recovered after that. You got like this the JMS run, all that, Ultimate Spider-Man. So yeah, I would say like a worst comic was like what, Chapter 1 by John Byrne.
Probably.
Yeah, that guy.
JMS had some bad ones though.
Yeah, let's
Since past.
Since past. Let's never talk about that again. Like Gwen Stacy hooking up with Norman Osborn.
If you know the panel, you know the panel. That's right. Yeah. You know, like you don't need to show it.
No, yeah, like I want to like take that image out of my head because that's like gross.
They should have put it right in the corner, Gene, when we're finished.
Just put it, like,
thumbnail. Really small in the corner.
No.
It should be your back. It should be your background.
Like who would yeah, exactly. But like okay, but like going on a little tangent, but like because that I think that's more like that's more in Joe Quesada, because the original ending was like they were Peter's kids, the two characters, which were like Gabriel and the other Gwen Stacy. Yeah. And Joe Quesada could not stand the fact of Peter Parker having kids. He like did a 180 and it was like, all right, Norman Osborn impregnates Peter Parker's dead girlfriend and gives them kids who.
No, I do want to point out there's a lot of bad things about this, but she was alive when he impregnated her. I just
right, okay.
Out, right? That's a whole other story.
Yeah, it's a lot darker. The way
Brad Meltzer would have wrote that one.
Oh God, yeah. That came out the same year as Identity Crisis too. That was the
year that ruined comics. Yes, I know.
Pro comics, but yeah, I don't know. Joe Quesada, great artist, but like some of his ideas sometimes, like he really didn't like a 60-year-old character growing up that bad. You know, but I'm not the.
And again, like I always say, I have no problem ending the marriage. I have a problem with ending the marriage by making a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
You know,
like Mephisto.
Like you guys ever heard of divorce?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, they divorced Storm and Black Panther. Yeah, his president.
Divorce is expensive.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
as compared to your soul, right? As compared to your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one could argue in a divorce you already lose your soul. So I mean,
only half of it. Only half of it.
Exactly. But in terms of comics I'm reading, I just also want to throw out The Other History of the DC Universe by John Ridley, which was delayed for like 2 or 3 years and finally is being released now. And he's the screenwriter of not only 12 Years a Slave, but also the best Justice League animated storyline, which was Star-Crossed. That's facts few people know, but yeah, I was really digging The Other History of the DC Universe because it delves into a lot of underrepresented characters of the DCU. So a lot of people of color characters, so like Black Lightning. He changes, but it's like Guardians, like Herald, and like Bumblebee. And the next issue is going to be Katana, and it's really well illustrated. And like I really dig that because it has a lot to say about like the world right now. So I'd recommend that to people. Not sure if you guys heard of that one.
Yeah, I'd heard of it. I didn't pick it up, but it was definitely something I was looking at. So hearing this, I might, go back and pick up what they have.
Yeah, I'd really recommend it. And he's also doing the next Batman, which was all the future state stuff, which is like the holdover from like Dan DiDio's. Like, I guess that's the event that got him fired, which was 5G. I don't know Rob's opinion on Dan DiDio, but he's the best and the worst person at DC sometimes.
And no, and that's kind of my opinion was he had some great ideas and he had some really bad ideas and he had very little in between.
Yeah.
Like he was super hit or miss.
Exactly. Because yeah, I mean, like I would credit him with getting me into DC Comics with like Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis. He did a lot of good for that company, like 2000s, just the last decade or so, kind of.
And if you look, like you might not have liked the direction of the New 52 and the way it was rolled out, but when it came to like boosting sales and getting up interest, like you can't argue that it didn't work for a while.
Yeah.
I wish they would have had the product to continue the interest. I think
Mhm.
that's where they kind of fell off. But in terms of marketing and strategy, it was really well done.
Yeah.
The marketing and everything else was amazing. The only problem is that I feel that they also didn't give enough comics a long enough like stretch. They only
Yeah.
gave them like maybe like 10, 12 comics, and then they were just like, it's not selling, so we're gonna cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
some of them had some really good ideas. Like, I don't know if you ever remember the Static Shock during the New 52.
mhm.
Great ideas. Some of like the best writing for Static Shock. And then after 12 issues, they were just like, nope, not anymore.
And it
Yeah.
didn't sell, but shockingly, one of the better books out of that
Hey,
was Dan Dito's OMAC.
Middleman. Oh, okay. He did. I thought he did Middleman too, or am I mistaken?
I don't know if he did or not, but his
Okay.
OMAC was really good.
So he
And
canceled it.
yeah, it wasn't selling, but it was one of the better, I thought, written and like stories of the whole thing.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember because I guess I don't know if we dunked on him before, but like I feel like we have like Rob Liefeld's like Hawkman just getting canceled after 3 issues was like the most Rob Liefeld thing ever.
If he had just drawn the fetus claws, it would have been fine.
That's what he
Fine.
says, you know. And if you don't know, he created Deadpool, like he says on his Twitter every day. If you don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, New 52. So any other comics? Anyone's
First of all, I'm not going to talk most about it because everybody knows it, but everything X related right now is
Right.
just on fire. But the one I caught up on, it's an older series, but they finally started getting, well, I think they had the trades out for a while, but I just noticed them. Kaiju Max.
Oh, okay.
Kaiju Max. Basically, it's a super max prison for kaijus.
So is it like Monster Island, like on Godzilla?
It's sort of, except it's more of a prison. There's guards. There's gangs within the prison. You know, the crypts are actual cryptids.
That's awesome.
There's it's basically if you took the HBO shows The Oz and The Wire and you combined them with Godzilla, that's kind of what Kaiju Max is. And let's just put it's by Xander Cannon. I want to say it's Oni. I don't know exactly who the publisher is. I can't remember off the top of my head. They've done 5 seasons, or sorry, they're on their 5th season now.
Okay.
So he releases individual issues as seasons, and they have the first 4 trades out. And like The Wire, if you ever saw The Wire, each season sort of has a different thing they look at. It's kind of the same thing here. Like season 4 is the women's prison.
Mhm.
It's literally called Scales is the New Black. It's funny, but it's also heartbreaking and sad. It's kind of got a little bit of everything. And just one of the funny, not funny, I don't know if it's funny or not, but it's just one of the things that the slang that he's come up with for the prison and what things mean different things. And let's just say there's a difference between saying lizard with a D and lizard without the D. You know, and I'll leave it at that. But it's just a really, really well done that it shouldn't be as moving as it is, because with all the little trappings and things that make it kind of funny and silly, it really is a look at prison and a class in this world that has been permanently labeled as monsters or criminals, regardless of their own individual outlooks on the world and their place in it. And what does that do to that society? What does that do to that population? So I highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good analogy because, yeah, I mean, like, if anyone looks into like the prison industrial complex, like, yeah, you know, it's really messed up. So,
yeah, no, and a lot of those issues, you know, come to play in here. And there's also you sort of see the debate too, is prison for punishment or is it for rehabilitation?
Yeah.
And you see different characters have their own views on that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, because also I was gonna say there can be hero kaijus too. If anyone, Godzilla like flips from many times. Is that kind of like?
Yeah, there's a couple of the tech ones. So like one of the crews in there, and it probably most is written to associate itself with like the Nation of Islam in prison,
Okay.
in the sense of all the tech kaijus, the tech monsters, worship the Great Singularity, and now they preach peace and all of that. But some of their brothers outside have been enlisted in the police forces, so they're heroes in that sense, right? So you have that aspect.
Gotcha. No, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Like, independent comics, like there's some really like good, like, I mean, not good, excuse me, interesting things that they could say about the world,
Yeah. And this is just a guy who had an idea, and he said, look, I'm not going to be able to do this at any of the gigs that I've been doing, working for Marvel or DC or anything like that. I'm just going to go out and do my own thing. And I believe the season he's doing now is the last.
Okay.
I believe, from what I've read and heard. So
nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out because
definitely.
I'm trying to get into more comics. But I guess let's segue into our next topic. Speaking of kind of old series, Batman the Animated Series was recently released on HBO Max. And on our podcast here, we're doing a rewatch. And so we're starting with the first like 4 episodes, which is the pilot on Leather Wings, Heart of Ice, and Feet of Clay, parts 1 and 2. So I haven't seen the pilot in actually a while, just to start things off. And I was like, my first impression, I was like surprised by a lot of stuff. First off, there was another Alfred. There was like another Alfred voice for like 3 production episodes. For whatever reason, there wasn't I believe his name is Efren Zimbas Jr. So that's like
it's actually Clive Revel.
Yeah, and I've never heard of that other actor because for me the DCAU Alfred is the guy that voices Dr. Octopus too on the Spider-Man cartoons.
Well, actually, fun fact: Clive Revel is also the guy who played what was it, Senator Palpatine in Empire
really?
Strikes Back, in the original
Oh,
version of Empire Strikes Back.
that's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. What's really cool about these is that they are all a product of animation in the early the early 90s. At this time is like when you got like is when you're getting a lot of like Looney Tune, like the baby Looney Tunes. You're getting a lot of like was it the Animaniacs? You're getting a lot of those.
Yeah.
And the only problem is that a lot of animators didn't want to do this kind of stuff anymore. They were really tired of getting all of these like restrictions saying you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't have like, they can't kill each other, they can't shoot each other, they can barely even hit each other. So what the hell are we supposed to do? And it really did make this thing where a lot of animators really wanted to quit. Paul Dini even says, at the time when I was doing Animaniacs, I thought I was going to quit. Like I thought I was just going to stop doing animations. I was going to stop writing for him. And then he did Heart of Ice, and Bruce Timm and them were able to convince him to like write Heart of Ice. And now he's in, like he's like completely into the DC universe and stuff like that. So these are really cool. It also did a real cool technical thing of they drew on black paper in order to get that darkness out, which is so interesting. They were like, how exactly are we going to animate a dark and gritty Gotham? And one of the artists was just like, what about instead of having to put dark into like writing on white paper, why don't we put light into darkness and like actually just make the city out of dark paper? And that's how you get those like really dark sceneries and dark Gothic like locales and stuff like that. By far, it's an amazing show, and technically it's amazing.
No, it still holds up too. Because I was gonna say, because when I started watching, it was like on Kids WB, and it's probably reruns, but it initially aired on I think like Fox Kids. Like Rob, do you remember like what the initial impression like was like to fans or like fandom when that show came out? Like because it's for its time, like it's airing on like what, like a network that has like baby Looney Tunes, like stuff like that. That's really for kids. And this is like, it's not edgy, but it's like it's a more mature, and it really trusts its audience to like get to like ingest like these like more like kind of storylines with depth.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember too also is just from my context, I was, it's early 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I'm finishing high school. I'm just starting high school in 90. So, cartoons were kind of out of the picture for me at this point as a major thing. But this is the one that if we were around, it wasn't appointment TV for me, but if I was in front of a TV and it was on, I would still watch it. And I think what most people who truly understand like writing for kids, be it comics, novels, movies, whatever, is you write it a level above your audience, because kids like being in on something they think is for somebody slightly older than them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the genius of this series. We're not going to treat you like you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to suggest, we're going to say, you get this, this,
Mm-hmm.
you know what this stuff's about. We're not going to talk down to you. We're not going to necessarily spell out a moral at the end. The moral will be there, but we're going to trust if you watch the episode, you understand what the moral is or the lesson is, without, a segment at the end with the, Batman turning to the screen and saying, "Hey kids,"
Yeah.
And so it appealed to kids at that time. And then, as those kids got older, and they started showing it to other people, like it spread out of that. The kids that watched it at the time loved it. It didn't really go beyond that. But when you get into then, DVD collections, streaming, where it's more accessible by other people, it starts expanding beyond just that target kids that they had at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, a big person that we can really thank for it is Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg actually, because they hired him to basically revamp the entire animation portion of Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, he goes, "Cool, we're opening an entire studio. We're not shipping it out. We're not doing anything else. We're doing it all in-house." And then Warner Brothers originally was like, "That's not really how we do things, Steve. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's weird." And then he goes, "Doesn't matter. That's how we're doing it now." And then he also hired a full orchestra to do all of their music. That's why if you specifically notice Warner Brothers cartoons, they have orchestral soundtracks
Right.
for all of their animation. And they even said too, that's not how we do sound inside of cartoons. You just get like a little tiny sound thing and then you clip it in as you need it. And he goes, that's not how Warner Brothers does it. Warner Brothers now does a full-on orchestras.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, you wouldn't have that iconic Batman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they reuse the Danny Elfman theme, but they like it's not like beat for beat. Like they kind of change it up a little bit. I noticed.
Well, actually, the funny thing is that Shirley Walker is the person who actually did
right
for Batman the Animated Series. She was a co-producer with Danny Elfman when he was making the Batman theme.
Mm-hmm.
So when she made it, she wanted it to kind of still have that resemblance of what people at the time knew this is Batman's theme, but also give it its own little spin for herself. And she did the whole like Batman, what was it, soundtrack, like all those like iconic sounds. She did it.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, that's actually the main reason why. And she also did like a bunch of stuff for like Animaniacs, stuff like that. That's why actually the studio inside of Warner Brothers is actually called the Shirley Walker Studio. Because she was like the founder of like all of these like great musical sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, she's a great musician. I believe she passed away too.
Yeah, she ended up passing away probably like in like mid 2000s, I believe.
Yeah,
if I'm not
but
wrong.
yeah, there's some like great themes like for the soundtrack, like for the Ra's al Ghul episode, like all that like it has like a lot of Arabic sort of sounding,
Yes.
wind chimes, things like that. Joker's theme is like really good on this show, where it goes like I'm trying to remember, it's like it's like It's like kind of like
Yeah.
a
It's very playful.
yeah, it's
Very
a very playful one. And that's, and also I think like, it's that theme that Danny Elfman did is still, I think, like the like whenever I think of Batman, that theme always pops in my head. I'm not sure for you guys as well. Or is it Adam
Yes.
West?
Adam West. I'm still
Yeah.
Adam West.
Okay.
Because Batman 89 is kind of like my first
Yeah.
introduction into Batman. It's definitely Danny Elfman's thing. Later on, when I finally understood what Batman 69 was,
Hmm.
because I remember seeing episodes of it because my parents showed it to me,
Yeah.
and
Same.
just going like, "This is completely different from what I know. Like, this is not Batman."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
when it should have been the reverse.
Hmm.
This is not my
Well,
Batman.
I was gonna say also, people credit Batman 89 to kind of like this 180 in the character from going like, Adam West to, and both versions are great, to the seriousness of like the Batman we see today. But I also think Batman the animated series definitely contributed to that. Like, because he's a very angry character in like the first couple episodes. Because I'm looking, he's kind of at odds with the police, like in Leather Wings. Like I think like Bullock tries to go after him. The way they also kind of portray like the GCPD is interesting because obviously he's allies with Gordon and Renee Montoya, but like he's really at odds with like Harvey Bullock, who they either portray like outright kind of villainous or comical, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I found that really interesting because I don't know, for a lot of Batman lore and things, he's, except at the very beginning, he's usually like allies, I guess, with GCPD in most of the stories where, obviously you have conflict at the start of his career, but gradually it gets better. But yeah, this one's like interesting because also I remember in Mask of the Phantasm, they also try to like kill Batman too. So
Yeah, there's always like a very tenuous relationship between Batman and the GCPD. There's
yeah.
like it's either they get along great and they share information and
Mhm.
like he's welcome into crime scenes, like in
Yeah.
the Batman that's coming out, Matt Reeves' Batman, where everybody just kind of seems really cool with Batman walking in on a fucking crime scene.
Yeah. There's that
And
there's that scene
huh?
where there's that scene I think like Gordon holds him up against the wall in the
Yeah, or
trailer.
he's talking to a bunch of cops, and then
Yeah.
like Gordon has to like separate them because they start getting into a fight. Which
Mhm.
once again, Matt Reeves' Batman looks dope as hell.
Yeah.
But
Robert, oh, I was gonna say, Rob, were you hyped for that or
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I definitely want to see it. I
Okay.
always like seeing the new takes on Batman. I haven't followed the trailers enough. I haven't looked at any of it, but I definitely want to see it. I just think also, when you talk about sort of the turn in Batman, I mean, it starts with the artist formerly known as Frank Miller
Mhm.
doing Dark Knight,
Yes.
Returns,
Yeah.
right? Goes from that to 89 to the animated series, and you had maybe for the first time ever, like a unified theory of Batman, right?
Mhm.
That all
yeah,
the mediums were sort of basing it around the same characterization of him.
Yeah.
And
Which is like year one, Dark Knight
right,
Returns.
year
Yeah.
one, Dark Knight Returns,
well, that
the
was
animated
the
series, 89.
well, that was the thing though, is that because a lot of times whenever they would do like a comic, like a what was it, an animation version, like the Super Friends,
Mhm.
comic book writers and creators and everything like that hated the Super Friends. They thought it was
Yeah.
so stupid. They thought it was, yes, it's for kids, but like they didn't get anything right. There was nothing about the comic books that was right. There's nothing about the characters that are right.
Yeah.
All they got right basically is their names and equipment that to
Because
make toys.
I grew up watching the Super Friends, and I remember Batman relies like so much on the back computer for everything, and then also like his utility belt, which is like shark repellent,
True.
things like that. And I love the Super Friends, but like Batman's like, yeah, he's really relying on the back computer in that.
Well,
Yeah.
Batman, when it's one of those things of like in the Super Friends thing, is Batman is the guy who gets all the information about what the hell's going on,
Yeah.
and then the Super Friends go deal with it, while Batman just kind of like
Mhm.
stands there and makes fun of Robin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Uh,
I mean, Batman's not going to punch anybody harder than Superman. So,
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
he's not going
Yeah.
to catch somebody in a chase faster than Flash.
Then you also have like what, like Jan and like what was the other guy, the Wonder Twins?
Zena.
Zaina.
Jan and Zaina, yeah, the Wonder Twin powers.
And then they're kind
Yeah.
of useful, but then you have like Wendy and Marvin.
But I will tell you, just to offshoot it, get Mark Russell's Wonder Twins series, because there's nobody better at satire than Mark Russell in comics right now. And
Nice.
just the fact that they fight a villain named Captain Red Flag, who literally is a walking red flag about somebody you'd want, a girl might look to date.
Oh my god,
it's so good. It's so good.
That's crazy.
He's the guy who did. If you don't know, he did the Flintstones and the Snagglepuss.
That Flintstones comic I heard is dark.
It's dark because they talk about how they got rid of the Neanderthals, and there's a scene where Fred turns to Barney and goes, "Barney, we committed a genocide."
What?
Yeah, that's in it. Yeah, I remember that.
There's also the greatest part about it too is the development of marriage.
Yeah,
marriage wasn't a thing, so they decided to get married, and all the protests about like how one man and one woman is unnatural.
Oh my god,
it's some
good satire.
So good, there. It's so good.
But,
yeah,
the Snagglepuss one is even. I mean, I was stunned at how good that one was.
Yeah, I heard the Snagglepuss one was good. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But I was gonna say, also for Batman, just going on Heart of Ice, because like Mr. Freeze gets like overhauled in the show, because on Batman 66 he's Mr. Zero. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but like before this, like no one really liked Mr. Freeze or took him seriously, right?
He was what type of villain could we have to do something wintry? It really there was nothing there for him.
If I remember correctly, a lot of like the early like 60s, 70s comic books, they did basically what Schumacher did, where he was a villain who could freeze stuff. He was stealing diamonds, and he made a lot of like ice puns. Like that was like his big thing.
Yeah.
And then in Heart of Ice, they then added in this backstory of his wife and the reason why he has ice power, like about Nora. So like when Schumacher did his thing, he was like, well, why don't we just get both and we'll mix them together?
Yeah. Because I was going to say what you will though about Batman and Robin, but at least they get that backstory right for Mr. Freeze, at least, even though I feel like Arnold knows the type of movie that he is in during Batman and Robin. He's totally going for it, but you have like Clooney and like all the, I think like, well, Uma Thurman, but you have like Clooney as Batman, like taking it really seriously, and like Arnold knows.
If you go back to like actually Batman and Robin and stuff like that, Schumacher is known for periodically going onto the thing of don't take it seriously, we're doing a comic book.
Yeah, it's campy. Yeah,
it's supposed to be campy, and then he would show him like Batman 66 like episodes and stuff like that. So he was very much trying to go for the camp, but also he was trying to mix in this Paul Dini 1989 mix.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't fit. It really doesn't, because you're going for the seriousness of what Paul Dini was trying to do with the Batman animated series of like, Mr. Freeze has a reason why he's doing this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, but we'll mix it in the 69 where he's just like making fun of ice. What killed the dinosaurs? What
the Ice Age.
It's bad. I think me and a buddy of mine tried to do the drinking game for Batman and Robin. You have to drink every single time Mr. Freeze makes a ice pun.
How many ice puns are there? Like what? Like
we don't remember the end of the movie.
You lost count.
Well, because it was that, and then it was every single time Poison Ivy, which like implied sexuality. What was it? Every single time Robin complained. It was just basically just keep drinking throughout the movie and just don't
keep drinking,
stop.
Man. There you go.
That was basically that wasn't a game at that point.
Do you guys have a favorite ice pun though from Batman and Robin?
What killed the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
That's the best.
I wish Batman had stopped and said, technically that's a misnomer.
Right? Like if he could do the line about the back credit card, like why he didn't do that line.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people go back and go like, oh, why would he have a Bat credit card? Can't they just trace the Bat, like who the credit card's going to? And then they would go, why is Bruce Wayne paying all of Batman's bills? Like this is
Yeah.
Well, hey, and then Grant Morrison fixed that when he did Batman Inc.
There you go.
Yeah. In which that totally makes sense of just Batman going like, yeah, I'm not Batman, but I'm paying for Batman. So just so that
yeah, that's the perfect alibi right there. He's like, I know you think I am, but actually I just finance him.
It's like, what if we make Batman your bodyguard? It's like, no, Marvel did that with Tony Stark already.
Yeah.
Okay, what if we just finance him? Okay, that works.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, also for this episode, like the stuff that they have to say about like giant corporations and like kind of like corporate America, pretty interesting because like Gothcorp, I'm trying to remember the line where where Bruce is taking that meeting with the CEO and like he's like super condescending towards like, what happened to Freeze, and he's like, oh yeah, it was just it was just some crazy guy, like we didn't do anything, like we didn't try to screw him over, with his research.
Which is actually our first introduction to Mark Hamill inside of
right. Yeah, Mark does other voices in that. That's interesting.
Before he was cast as the Joker, he was just doing like little tiny bit pieces because Tim Curry was originally.
Yeah, that's right. I think Tim Curry might have recorded some lines.
No, he recorded all of his lines.
Yeah, that's right.
He finished Joker's Favor. He had done it. He had done like that in like 2 other episodes.
Yeah.
But the problem was that what was it? He had already done Peter Pan. And he had done like a couple other shows. So when they were listening to it, it sounded like Captain Hook.
Interesting.
And they were just like, kids are gonna think this is Captain Hook. They're not gonna think it's Joker. We need to get somebody else.
I would like kill to like hear the recordings of like Tim Curry as Joker, or like just edit all his Peter Pan lines into like Joker. That'd be interesting.
According to Mark Hamill, what he had said is that it was already animated and recorded. Like he had to, in Joker's Favor, he actually had to match his lips to what Tim Curry already did.
Oh wow.
So he had to do his own thing while also trying to still keep with the cadence of Tim Curry. So
I think we also need to appreciate any series that starts without introducing the main villain in the first one.
Right. Yeah.
The fact that they held off on Joker.
For like at least, yeah, they went with Man-Bat. Joker comes in like
there is also a special accommodation starting with the worst villain that somebody has, and they went out and did that with Man-Bat.
That's not true. They didn't start with Condiment King.
Condiment King rules. I will have none of that, sir.
I love Condiment King too. Condiment King is my favorite.
Because Rob, I don't know if you watched the Harley Quinn show, which is amazing.
I haven't yet.
Okay, you need to see it. It's on HBO Max.
Condiment King and Kite Man get like the greatest. Like
they hate each other.
They're the best. They're the best. They're rivals, and only they think they're rivals, and it's so funny.
Okay. Yeah. Hey guys, I gotta go. I need to watch this now. Batman funny. Good. Everything else good. Where can we find you on social media?
But it's so funny because it would just be like, my rival's been here. Who? Condiment King.
Yeah, I know. Rob's gonna love Harley Quinn. We love that.
Oh,
show.
It's so great. Yeah.
Please tell me there's a scene where Kite Man is in his like civilian clothes and he goes and he orders a hot dog, and like the person behind the counter asks, do you want any ketchup or mustard on it? And Kite Man just goes ballistic and just starts beating people up. No condiments.
Oh man.
No, but there is Kite Man doesn't really take off his thing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like times where like he'll sit somewhere and then he just sees like mayonnaise, and then it'll just be like, Condiment King.
Keeps pranking him. I love Kite Man. Kite Man's like,
Kite Man, hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
But I was gonna say, just going back to Batman, Mike Mignola actually redesigned Freeze, and for the series, because I believe he was working on the show. But that's cool that they make Freeze like so gothic as well. Like he's like so almost like techno, not techno punk. Like was it like
steampunk?
Steampunk, yeah. He's basically like steampunk. Because this is the guy that does Gotham by Gaslights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it fits the aesthetic that they're going for.
Yeah.
The look of the show as a whole. And again, when this is the one when I was rewatching, I called the wife in. I'm like, you've never seen this, and I bet you'll cry by the end of it. She didn't go to. She was close. She didn't get there, but I mean, it was. Yeah, it's amazing. And the rehab it did on, elevating Mr. Freeze, not only in the animated series, but, comics are good at taking what worked in other medium, if it works, and, bringing it into, again, Renee Montoya wasn't a character in the comics before. And so it was so well done. It's probably my favorite single episode of the whole series.
This show did a really great job of the main thing that was really cool about this is they made it that the villains weren't just like, I'm here to rob things and cause trouble. They gave them depth, and they made them so much more interesting than even Batman at times, where you're just like, I want to see more of like what's going on with like Mr. Freeze or what's going on with Catwoman or whatever.
And the thing is, Batman is an interesting character, but he's also an interesting character that we've thought about for a long time.
Yeah.
Like we've all thought about, oh my God, what if I were that scenario, or what makes him do this? We've had the debate over Batman's the real identity and Bruce Wayne's the mask, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And if you gave us, but now giving us these criminals that we can, compare and contrast to Batman, right? Batman, had he been Mr. Freeze's character, probably wouldn't have tried to kill the guy. He probably would have tried to amass wealth and buy out every corporation in the world. That would have been his response to it, right? So how does somebody else respond to this action, right?
To the trauma.
To the trauma. I think put a mark in that, because I think we'll come back to that later on some other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we get into WandaVision.
Well, the thing is that what's really cool is that for the animated series, like there's an episode later on, I think it's in season 2, where it's called Almost Got Him.
Yeah.
Where it's just an entire episode all about literally the villains on how exactly they almost killed Batman.
That's a trope that goes back to the comics. They've done that in the comics, dude. It's so good.
But I love it too, because there's all like they're all telling like these elaborate stories. They explain how like Batman gets the giant penny. Not only that, but also I love Killer Croc's, where he's just like, so what did you do, Croc? I threw a rock at him.
That's one of the
he's just like, and then they were just like, you threw a rock? It was a really big rock.
Well, that one's brilliant too, because like, I guess spoiler, it's supposed to be Batman imitating Killer Croc, and he's like, what would Killer Croc do? He would throw a rock at
how
me.
they believe that it's Killer Croc?
And I love that they revisit that, because you have Killer Croc, I think in either the new Batman or this series, he does throw a rock at Batman and just misses. Like by a good margin, he misses it so bad. And then when they do the trial of Batman and he's among the trial, like I think he says like, how are we gonna kill him? He's like, throw a rock at him.
Yeah, he does.
And I think I was texting Rob about that episode, because for the impeachment, I don't know if you've seen that meme, Nick, where it's like, man, they had a whole episode of Batman where the villains were the jury for this trial of Batman, and they decided to acquit Batman based on the evidence. But like all these Republicans decided to acquit Trump despite being villains too. Like, who would have known? Like Killer Croc has like more scruples than like Mitch McConnell.
First of all, I would have, because crocodiles have more scruples than turtles. But look, I also want to point out in the Clayface episodes.
Yes.
As much as we get into the more serious take on Batman, I will say the most Batman moment of the 4 episodes we watched was Batman saying the phrase, "That jaw in my fist felt familiar."
I know I've hit that guy before. I know I've hit him before.
That's some Batman 68 stuff. That's some 66 stuff, right? That's some Batman like, no, Robin, 3 weeks ago, I started training.
With that one scene in like, I don't know if it's I think it's either in the comic or 66, where I think it's in a comic where they have to like, Batman like looks at the TV from another angle to like get like a proper like look at a criminal, but like if you're looking at like the TV, it still looks the same. I don't know what that was about, but
all I know is that when I heard, because I hadn't seen the Clayface episodes in years, and when I was rewatching it, I was like, I don't remember ever hearing that line, and that is hilarious.
I just died. I'm sitting here watching this serious story, It's really
I
good
know I've
at
punched that man
gravitas.
before.
Mhm.
I know that jaw feels familiar to my fist.
Yeah, it's such
Like,
a Batman thing.
That's
It's such a
the
Batman
most
thing to say.
Batman
hmm
thing.
I know I've whooped
Yeah.
this guy's ass before. Who was he?
Yeah, I was gonna say this episode, these two parts are interesting because essentially it's Batman, or was it? It's Bruce Wayne fugitive, you know,
Yeah.
because it's Bruce Wayne being framed for a crime he didn't commit, which we see in that storyline. I don't know if you like that one, Rob, but some people.
The only
I
thing
don't
is that it wasn't exactly like
I don't remember it, to be honest, that
Okay.
well. I mean, I read it.
Mhm.
It was there. It wasn't. It didn't stick out in my head as something I'm still mad about years later.
Right.
but
Or-
the thing is that for this, like you don't really feel it. Like the entire episode, like Alfred makes one line of just like, what am I supposed to do about the police?
Yeah, it's like, tell him I'm
And
not
then
here.
he goes like, what about the police, Alfred? And he goes, read the newspaper, dude.
But
You're
I
being
also,
accused of almost assassinating Lucius
yeah,
Fox.
but I also like that fact that I guess he's seen like Arkham Knight or like Bruce Wayne Fugitive or a bunch of other like mediums where, yeah, if like Bruce Wayne ever gets like committed, or excuse me, like gets like put a warrant or something happens, Batman's like, well, I could just be Batman, like I'll be fine, like I don't need to go out as Bruce Wayne. I like being Batman.
Yeah. And the most accurate thing is how quickly Bruce Wayne made bail.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh wait, I have money, you know.
Actually, Rob, he was never even questioned.
Right.
His butler kept saying he wasn't home. The cops just went, okay.
Oh yeah, he's like, can we look through the house? It's like, oh,
Dude,
if you want.
Come on, guys. Butlers never lie.
Yeah. But
the Gotham PD just went, yeah, Bruce ain't there. He's got a giant mansion, but he's not home.
We searched the house. Where does this pole go? To the garage. Okay, I guess we don't need to check it.
what about that giant cave over there? It's not in there.
It's where he keeps his cars. Oh, okay, we'll take your word for it.
That's where he keeps the prostitutes.
Well, what is it like in
The
Batman?
live
Year-
ones.
Yeah. What happens in like Batman Year One, where like no, it's in like 0 year, where like Gordon finds the cave and like just bats like attack him.
Yeah.
You know.
Pretty awesome.
But,
It's actually
yeah,
it's really funny.
That's a good thing. But I was gonna say
Also, how would you not guess that that's Batman if you have a cave full of bats? I'd be like, that's kind of weird.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but Batman's smart. So Batman would put the cave of bats farther away from him.
hmm
And now this becomes a Princess Bride scene. But Batman knows you know that Batman is smart.
yeah, so he wouldn't do that because Batman knows that you would think that Batman would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
But yeah, also I think you have like one of the first guest stars on this episode, which is like Ron Perlman
Ron
as
Perlman.
Clayface.
Yeah.
And
Well, technically the second. I mean, technically
Yeah.
the second. Because
No,
Mark
for-
Hamill, I mean,
Mark-
Mark Hamill is technically, he's a motherfucking Jedi.
yeah, but like I guess like a guest like star as a villain, and his Clayface is really good because they combined a lot of stuff from the comics, because there's like multiple Clayfaces. There's like
Right.
4 or 5, and like I think like the Matt Hagen one is like more or less the prime version at this point. Everyone
Mhm.
looks to instead of like Basil Carlo. But yeah, his I really like his like kind of like washed up actor sort of take on the character. Like he just wants to work. And also like I think Clayface, like he's also just being Clayface just so he could act again too.
Yep.
You
Mhm.
know? That was like cool, but like yeah,
So
also
Oh,
Mhm.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I was also digging like all the animation in this episode, like the scene where like Clayface, I forgot, like Batman's like messing him up or beating him up or whatever, and he's like morphing into all the people he impersonated, like he can't hold his form. And it
Mhm.
kind of reminded me of, I don't know if anyone's seen Acura, but it reminded me of like oh, it's like an anime.
No, I know
whatever,
what it is. I haven't
Oh,
seen
yeah.
it. Yeah.
where like what's it like what's I forgot his name. Nick, you seen Acura?
Yes, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, where the character's like having this body horror, like morphing into a giant blob. It really reminded me of that, and I was like, I wonder if that was like an influence. I don't know.
Might have been, but the cooler thing about it is that because when I was rewatching it, I was kind of taking it as an actor who has a substance abuse problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what I kind of was watching it as, because he keeps on talking about like, oh yeah, like I got into an accident, now everything just hurts.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that helps me, I have to still do my job. you know, my job is the most important thing. So I thought it was like this weird like PSA on like, you know, like kind of like drugs and like not to do them and stuff like that. It was interesting.
Is the redemption of Clayface then he gets a job to be Iron Man?
No, he gets a job to be a woman.
No, but I'm saying like if an actor with a substance abuse problem overcomes it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Well,
No,
I was gonna say, you know, I was gonna say that Clayface actually kind of reminds me of Gary Busey.
Well, what I was gonna say actually, and
not Gary Busey.
My thought was, what modern day actor is Clayface? Like, if this thing were in real life,
yeah.
And why is it Daniel Day-Lewis?
Just morphs into the person, yeah.
Right? Like,
mm-hmm.
It's either Johnny Depp or Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Like, it's got to be like he would do that. He would, put something on his face to transform. I mean, because you saw The Pirate, you saw.
Yeah, I would go with I would probably go with Johnny Depp.
All he was missing was Abe Lincoln.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, these were like, I guess wrapping up before we go into WandaVision, like, yeah, these were some really solid episodes, and like, you know, just seeing this out of the gate, you know, just being a kid like in the 90s, I would have been like, you know, forward, and like, yeah, it's just amazing that they did that, because, you know, this is like, it's a kid show, but then it's not, you know, it's like, it's a show that just has a lot to say just about real world issues, and really appreciate that.
And just doesn't talk down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's slightly a level above, but it trusts the kids to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing I really like about it as well is the fact that they, instead of them responding, because a lot of times it's out of voice acting, especially in cartoons, especially in the 90s, what they would do is they would then record, they would bring in the next actor, they record, you know, and then they would go back and forth, basically just responding to whatever the other person did. I really like Batman the Animated Series just because they would do a group recording.
Yeah.
They would all be in one room recording and responding to the way that the others are responding. So that way, if Mark Hamill does it differently, then that means that Kevin Conroy is going to do it differently.
Right. Yeah.
I have to respond to him immediately. And there's actual acting that's involved in this.
Yep.
And I think that's amazing. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah, I would say you have to also credit Andrea Romano, who is the casting director and the voice director. Yeah, she really did a good job of like direction and kind of like putting a cast, because, you know, voice acting in like, you know, children's animation before that, you know, I mean, you get like the same couple people, and, you know, they're like, oh, let's get like Mark Hamill, let's get like I think like Mark Hamill was already voice acting, but like, you know,
he was no, they got Michael Ansaro, who did the voice of Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
like they were getting thespians,
right? Yeah. They're like, hey, let's try it for this. You know, they went all out.
Because the way that Kevin Conroy used to say that it was, is he goes, it was like going for a radio show.
Yeah.
You know, Andrea Romano would basically give you the scene. She would basically read off like scene one. This is what's going on. She would read the entire description, and then she would basically have us act it out.
Yeah.
Like it is on the thing. So it was almost as if we were doing like the old fashioned like 1950s radio shows.
Right.
And that's kind of a very interesting thing of going like, yeah, we're trying to give life to these. We're trying to do a radio show and they're animating over it.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, and just before we go to the next topic, I was going to say, like, the performances of like everyone in the cast, just amazing. And, you know, Conroy's still my favorite Batman. So, and he's still doing it like 30 years later. He's still playing Batman in like the video games. Like, you know, he could still portray that character well. So got to give it up for Kevin Conroy.
Well, I don't know about Rob, but I know for me, whenever I read a Batman comic, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah, no, it's the same in terms of voice. Yeah.
Definitely not Bale.
Bale's what I do around the house because it's funny. But when I picture, you know, or I'm reading a Batman comic and hearing the voice, yeah, it's definitely not Bale.
I always thought that
do try to read every issue once as Bale just for fun, but like after you've done the serious reading.
Yeah,
because I thought doing Batman by Gaslight in Bale's voice would have been hilarious. Just because it's like that old English,
right?
And you have Bale's voice.
Gotham by Gaslight, right? Because Batman by Gaslight's hilarious.
I
didn't hit you.
By Gaslight.
Or
no,
was it
you were
like,
the one who said we should go there.
yeah.
I never said that.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh my
God,
God.
I guess.
But
I misspoke.
but yeah, these first episodes were great, and we'll cover the next couple in the next episode. So I guess that goes to our next topic, which was WandaVision, which is the return of the Marvel Cinematic Universe after many reasons for it being delayed last year. But this was, I guess after Far From Home and Endgame, we basically had this this break in our relationship between Marvel and everyone, where they went off and did their own thing, and it's been like really, I don't know, like I've been really enjoying the show, but I was just gonna say right off the bat, like just the fact that I'm seeing like new Marvel stuff with is just like a weird comfort food for me, I guess, after 2020. I don't know if anyone agrees with that statement.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah, I mean, going into always getting something new from Marvel is always great.
Right.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's Thor: The Dark World, but
Yeah.
but I
Not
do
the
think
best.
that if anything, this is actually an even better way of kind of doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mhm.
Just from kind of what we've been seeing from WandaVision and everything else, it is something where you can actually have a full through line of a character arc.
Yeah.
Because that always kind of like I always thought it was kind of weird where in the Marvel movies they were just like Wanda and Vision talked for like 20 minutes in a movie,
Mhm.
and now they're in a relationship.
Yeah. Or
Now
her
they're in
accent.
love.
Her
Yeah,
accent disappears.
her accent disappears
They
one movie, it comes back another, disappears
yeah.
another movie.
They explained that pretty well in the show, so we'll get to that.
Yeah,
But
and I think that they've done a really good job of like going like two Avengers that we kind of haven't really spent a whole lot of time with. We're going to just flesh them out. We're going to really give you enough time to care about them before we probably murder one of them.
yeah.
Kind of after we already murdered one of them twice.
Yeah, right.
We already murdered one twice. And then we're going to murder him again in this one.
we snapped one and then we killed the other one twice in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess this is like our first like kind of like how I guess Marvel's running the TV stuff now, because obviously like a lot of the Netflix shows, but this wasn't, before this it wasn't Kevin Feige running the TV. So, and these are essentially, I guess, like what he said, like one long comic storyline, one long like movie. And some people compare the Marvel movies to like TV shows, which is up for debate, but essentially they're all like one long televised story. And I thought, the fact that they did that with this was, that works.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's been good so far. What do you guys think of like the first couple first couple of episodes where it's like a slow burn, because starts as like this like weird like David Lynch like TV sort of like fake studio audience stuff, and it goes into like this highly elaborate conspiracy.
I absolutely loved it. I remember when I was watching the first episode, and my wife hadn't decided to start watching it with me yet.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling from the other room, like, I haven't been this tripped out since Twin Peaks: The Return. So
nice.
Using David Lynch was very appropriate to that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
The structure is great. I'd read some people were upset. Oh, I don't know what this is about yet. It's like, well, not everything. You don't need to know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
My biggest, I was thinking today, my biggest comments about the show, other than the show is great, has been like more responding to fans' discussion of it rather than the show itself.
Yeah.
And how they're choosing to discuss it. But the setup, it your mileage will vary depending on how much old TV you watched.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the Nick at Night age, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
Same.
And they would throw up, the 50s and 60s TV shows. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was perfect. It was, I sat there trying to pick out, okay, that's I Love Lucy, that's Dick Van Dyke.
Mhm.
That's this. So there was
That's
that.
Malcolm in the Middle. I saw one. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
definitely Malcolm in the
Oh,
Middle.
yeah, that
as soon
was
as I saw
simple.
it, I was just like,
It's
Malcolm
like
in the Middle. I'm like,
Roseanne.
Yeah,
There's The
Roseanne.
Office.
Yeah.
There's Brady Bunch and Mary Tyler Moore for the 70s one. No, I love the concept. I love the setup. I love how it comes all full circle as to why that occurred.
Yeah.
That made that scene that much more sad
Mhm.
Yes.
and affecting. And I talked a little with Eugene. I had a little hesitation after, what are we on? The last one was 8, right? A little after 7. I had a little hesitation, and they immediately doused it in 8. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with this.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that hesitation later when we talk more about that stuff.
No, yeah, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, like the slow burn of this, because it starts out, it's all sitcom at first, and you slowly like kind of peel back the curtain, seeing like what's really going on. And I mean, it's like it's a good like it's a good spoof on sitcoms. Like there's a lot of comedy, but I was gonna say that as we're gradually watching more, it's a very good show on like themes of grief, of loss. It really explores Wanda's basically her grief after Vision died too, which happened in Infinity War. And there's so much happening in those movies, you don't really see the dynamics and like kind of the real depth of a lot of these emotions, which I think they're exploring really good here. And I believe it's mainly based on the Tom King Vision too, right?
Well, it's based on that, and it's based on the Vision Scarlet Witch
Right.
limited series. The Tom King's influence seems to more be in the setup of the sitcom, how the family dynamic sitcom.
Yeah.
The grief aspect comes from, I think, more the Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, and then you could take that through line all the way up until she causes House of M.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, yeah, this is a little bit of Avengers dissembled, right?
Yeah, a little bit without Jack of Hearts being murdered. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
No, I was gonna say, I think I really appreciate attempts. So to me, this is Marvel doing what Tom King tried to do with Heroes in Crisis, just doing it better.
Or just like
and
following through,
dealing with the concept of these heroes are going to have trauma. And they've seen a lot. They've been involved in a lot. Half the universe died. And not only that, their loved ones died and things like that. And, not everybody is Captain America, who has the sense of duty and the mission and the life as a soldier that has, I don't want to say numbed him, but, he has something to fall back on to not only deal with that grief.
Yeah.
He can do his duty and then focus on the grief.
Right.
Scarlet Witch is a normal person in general as a human being who has gone through unspeakable horrors. And what's going to happen when she does that without any, counseling, without any, treatment, without any therapy. And what happens when somebody who has tremendous power also has tremendous grief?
Yeah.
And sort of getting into it, like, I guess I had thought at the end of episode 7 with the, Agatha all along, which again is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Don't get me wrong about that.
Yeah.
I was worried that the construct would be Agatha's. By saying it was Agatha all along, she created the construct. And I thought, oh my God, that's gonna be the biggest cop out of all time. And when they get to episode 8 and they explain Agatha discovered this is going on and wants to know how it's done. But at the end of the day, this is all the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
Yes.
I was 100% okay. They know what they're doing. I'm sorry, Marvel, for doubting you.
How dare I doubt you?
How dare every time I've done it, I've been proven wrong. Eventually, they're going to screw up, and I'm going to talk myself into thinking it's a me thing. But
can't doubt Kevin Feige for sure.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to go back and watch Dark World and be like, is it me?
No,
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 it's just a
no.
no,
movie.
it's not.
Yeah.
No,
Hey,
it's,
man,
it's
you
that
know,
movie.
if you
Yeah.
make like 25 or something movies and like
Yeah,
only
some of them are
one's
gonna be
bad.
duds.
And the worst
Yeah.
one is below average. It's not even
Yeah.
horrid.
It's not like, like God, like the regular cut of BVS effect, you know.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad movie.
When your worst movie is an average DC movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Oh man, we're gonna cover the Snyder cut, so hopefully that doesn't leak.
It's real bad when Aquaman's doing well.
That's a good. I love that movie, man. But
It's not bad. No, Aquaman's not bad. It's not
No,
bad.
but of if you were to take it from the Super Friends point of view, and they were going like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman's movies, did okay. Aquaman's movie, that one's the one that sold. It's like the guy who took the fish. But
love that one.
But yeah, no, I agree completely with Rob.
Yeah.
Marvel has planned this out. Not only that, but also when they were going over what has happened in those basically on the previously in Marvel, when they were showing, Scarlet Witch losing her brother, then she lost Vision twice in 5 minutes, and was forced to watch both times.
Yeah.
And then seeing Vision, and then just imagining her grief of being brought back. Vision is now gone. And then other Avengers are now, we can mourn later. Get your ass up. We need to go kill Thanos.
You're right.
And then afterwards, just trying to hunt down where exactly he was.
Yeah.
Like, where is Vision's body? Where is it? And then walking in and seeing it just ripped to fucking apart.
Yeah, they're like dissecting it basically.
Yeah, they were dissecting it. In which also, I'm still under the conclusion that Hayward, right, is in charge of S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hayward is Ultron.
Or
if he is being influenced by Ultron.
Interesting.
In the comics, because they, it's not that they changed it, they kind of move stuff around. S.W.O.R.D. is like more interplanetary shield, but now it's like interdimensional, which works. I'm trying to remember Hayward because I just remember like Abigail Brand in S.W.O.R.D., but Hayward, what is his role? If we could try to like put our like tinfoil hat.
There's been a couple of them. There's been a couple of comic books and also animations where they made it where Hayward is in charge of S.W.O.R.D., or he's like he has to deal with S.W.O.R.D. in some way.
Yeah.
But he uses Tony Stark's nanotechnology, his extremasuit, and he is basically Ultron in disguise and stuff like that. And I always thought that was an interesting idea, and especially also, why would you pick Hayward? Why is he so interested in Vision?
Yeah.
This is Ultron's baby. You're talking about how, I went into developing more AI and stuff like that. Why specifically would you say you're going to develop more AI, and you've already had a killer AI? You saw what happened when one of the most genius people on the planet, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, did when they tried to fuck with AI. Probably shouldn't do it. Probably shouldn't deal with it.
Bad idea.
It's a bad idea, no matter what.
I mean, I think that's kind of sort of the genius, though, like, because you've got that set up in the comics. So people who have read the comics are going to know that, and we're going to think that. Or it could just be, and this is, he could just be a government hack who wants all the weapons, right? True. This is a weapon. And both of those can lead to great stories in the future.
Yeah.
Both of those, and I've seen also or heard he could be a Skrull, right?
Yeah,
right. Skrulls are still out there,
so you've got that too.
The one that I thought that I saw that was interesting was the unit that Monica Rambeau gets the shuttle from. That is a unit of Skrulls.
Okay,
and that's the reason why when Hayward took over, they were the people that didn't show. He says like some of them didn't come back.
Yeah,
like some of them were. They just don't want to come back. Those are the astronauts and soldiers that didn't come back because they were Skrulls.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he didn't know that they were Skrulls. Only Monica's mother knew.
Could he be? Monica. Could he be a Skull Ultron? Could he be Skrulltron? That could be also.
Why not?
Well, I was gonna say at the end of Far From Home, you see Nick Fury just chilling with the Skrulls too. So, it's not uncommon for Shield to, I guess, work with them.
And that's the other thing. You also have to get your head around. If you're a comic reader, the Skrulls have almost universally been the bad guys.
Yes.
And it seems so far they're kind of the good guys in the Marvel MCU.
For right now, we'll see what Secret Invasion.
Right, exactly. Right. We have no idea.
I thought that was the most like brilliant thing about Captain Marvel. They turned that Skrull sort of like, yeah, they look like evil and they look like demonic, and they're actually the good, like they're basically like space refugees, or at least
all they want to do is survive. That's all we want to do.
That was the most brilliant twist I thought of Captain Marvel.
And it's a great twist because it does play on, your previous knowledge of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
So I'm stunned. Like, I wouldn't be stunned. Oh my God, that person's a Skrull, because I know Skrulls exist.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll be stunned with, oh, that person's a Skrull and he's helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think the Krees and the Skrulls, they're both pretty, I don't know, I guess like villainous in the comics, right? Like the Kree aren't that great
at
either.
times, but more often throughout history, more often Earth is aligned with the Kree.
Yeah.
Than the Skrull.
Yeah, because wasn't Marvel was
Kree.
He was Kree, and he was like a protector of the galaxy. He was kind of like a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. He was a Kree soldier who then became the protector of the galaxy. So he almost transcended Kree. Like, I'm no longer am I just responsible for my people. But yeah, no, he's very much like a Green Lantern in that sense. But because of that, there was a relationship with the Kree.
Right.
They weren't always the good guys. And, it's like diplomatic relations in the real world. Sometimes two bad guys are going at it and you have to help out the one that's less bad.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
So I think they do a good job of that. Oh, just also, I don't know if you've been reading the X books. Sword is now the Mutants space program.
No.
Sword is now Krakoa's space program.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
I need to get back in the X books if you're hyping it up for the last
Oh,
time.
dude, I was telling you earlier, you can cut this out later. Those presentations I do at Liz's.
Yeah.
I did an extra one. I had to explain the current storylines of the X-Men.
Oh no.
From when Hickman took over to kind of where we're at now.
Okay.
So yeah.
I've been lost for X-Men.
Yeah.
For a while, so.
But Sword is now the Mutant space program.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. I was a little disappointed that the X-Men weren't going to be introduced in this.
Well, I was going to say, so like, I don't know if there's been a lot of speculation on the show we've seen, and I do think there's some sort of reveal, some sort of like they're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and we're like, oh shit, I never saw that coming. But you see speculation. I mean, I guess we already kind of seen it in a kind of like tangible sort of way, that the fact that they replace Quicksilver or Pietro with the Fox version, which was Evan Peters, and he gets recasted, quote unquote.
Pietro, remember it's Pietro.
Yeah,
Pietro, yeah.
Pietro.
Right. And great. I thought that was brilliant. And so I guess like technically they've already crossed over into the X-Men in a way.
No, because Feige and them even said it was just a funny bit. Like, we meant nothing with it. We literally meant nothing by it. We just thought it was a funny thing.
No,
we didn't know how fans were going to be like, oh, well, this is the X-Men in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. And they were just like, oh, shit, that's not what that was.
Yeah, because...
Nick, you said that, they haven't introduced the X-Men, but they did introduce sort of the concept of mutants. Wanda had powers that weren't... It had always been thought that the powers were somehow activated by Hydra, but instead they've just been enhanced.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've laid that scene. I will say this kind of goes to what I was saying at the start, right?
Yeah.
I was reading some thread and somebody's all there. We're watching this brilliant series, this great look at trauma and the impact on somebody, and somebody in the comments that a bunch of people agreed with was like, oh, I don't know what Marvel's done now. They only have 2 episodes now to introduce Mephisto. And I'm like, when were we promised Mephisto?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, it was never said. Marvel's like, we're going to debut Mephisto here. No, it's like, you've already written that Mephisto is behind this.
Right.
How about you wait? Because there's a way. There's a way you can still do it. But, like, you're complaining about something that might not happen when you've had this great series already.
Yeah,
No.
you know,
It's
See,
like, come
what
on.
yeah,
No,
it's like if you
what I
order.
specifically
Mhm.
what
Oh, I was
I
just gonna-
specifically
oh.
want is I want the end credit scene to be Mephisto.
Well, I was gonna say, you know, this has already been confirmed. This leads into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of
Mhm.
Madness. So whatever's gonna happen in that end credits is gonna lead into that. So,
Right.
like, if you get Mephisto or whatever, he's probably gonna be in Doctor Strange most likely. You know, so you know why like if you had like a good steak, why complain like, oh, I should have got like that burger when you already had like.
Right,
good steak?
exactly. And
Yeah.
you know, going back, we were talking about the scrolls.
Mhm.
You know, the Agatha character
Yeah.
kind of did the same thing, right? Because in the comics, Agatha has always been helpful. She's always been the
Yeah.
mentor.
He's
And
like
everybody
Mhm.
everybody who
gonna-
read the comics knew Agnes was Agatha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what she was there for shocked us all. So, oh, hey, finally it's Agatha. Oh, wait, she's trying to do what?
hmm
Right? So, and just Marvel does that right so often.
Yeah. This is a brilliant
Well,
reveal.
my only thing is that I'm a little confused about where in the universe where certain things are in the universe, because Marvel has done a bunch of other things with like the Runaways. They've done
Right.
things with like, because the Darkhold has popped up in a couple of their
Mm-hmm.
like other shows.
Yeah.
If that book really is the Darkhold, because they haven't said it is, they just said it's a magical book,
Yeah.
more or less. Everybody just assumes, well, it's the Darkhold. You know, Mephisto, you know, during that thing, he was using the Darkhold. That's how she ended up doing everything else. I'm wondering where inside of the universe they can actually connect like everything else, like sorted, like what was it, Cloak and Dagger,
Mhm.
you know, the Runaways. You know, get all these like really cool things that Marvel's already done, and stuff like that, and then figure out how can we throw these all together
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah. We'll have to see for that, because I'm not sure if you guys read all the rumors that Daredevil is supposed to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, which just
The problem with what I'm hearing with all these like casting rumors is that at a certain point it turns into Spider-Man 3.
right. Yeah. It's well
Where
no.
at a certain,
Yeah.
you've only got 2 hours. Like if you were to say that Spider-Man 3 is going to be a 10 episode series that's
Mhm.
going on, you know, Disney Plus, I would feel a lot better about it.
Right.
About,
right.
you
I
know,
do think they could do sort of the cameo role, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you read the comic series, the Spider-Verse one,
Yes.
they have that scene where the Spider-Men are all gathered down, and one goes, "Doesn't that look like the guy from Seabiscuit?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it could be that they're just there for some giant gathering. They won't have a huge role,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you know, in terms of that.
Yeah,
I think one of the things that Marvel's going to have to start doing is sort of how they do with the comic books, right? There's going to be, and sort of how they did it with originally with the series. The series were the street level characters.
Yeah.
It was Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Punisher.
Right.
And then you had Cloak and Dagger and you had Runaways, the teen books,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And they're probably going to have to start doing that in some ways too, right? I don't think Runaways will ever seriously interact with Avengers.
Mhm.
But if Young Avengers comes up, which
Could always do
We
that.
saw Tommy and Billy,
yeah, and Kate Bishop's coming, and
right?
you have Stature, Cassie,
Yeah.
Lang.
You also have King.
right,
Yeah.
right,
also have
and you
King
could
Pan-
easily introduce Patriot.
Yeah.
So you know,
Oh.
maybe there's a teen interaction, you know, universe stories that cross over and things.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the Runaways or Cloak and Dagger.
I've seen Runaways. I haven't seen Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, because the cool thing about it was that because Cloak and Dagger unfortunately got canceled,
Right.
but before they got canceled, they had already made a deal with the Runaways to cross over into the
Aw.
Runaways.
Yep.
So, and it was in the final season of the Runaways that they did it.
Yep.
And it was by far one of the coolest episodes of the Runaways.
That's a bummer.
Because it's literally that Cloak and Dagger. Cloak shows up with Dagger and basically goes, "The Cloak summoned me here because it said that you needed help, that you guys needed help."
Yep.
And that's such a cool idea
Mhm.
of like, oh yeah, like why don't we mix these two together? Like, these like the Runaways are obviously make sense. And unfortunately, both shows ended up ending after those seasons, and it was like there was so much potential that you could use there.
Yeah.
And if you do have a Young Avengers thing, why not bring in the Runaways? Why not?
Well,
bring
yeah,
in all
because
these other
those are.
things?
I like the was it that Civil War crossover between Young
Yeah,
Avengers?
Young
and-
Avengers,
Mhm.
Runaways.
Yeah,
And
that's
Runaways, like I liked Runaways. My biggest issue with the last season was they jammed every Runaways storyline.
Into one.
You know,
Yeah.
first season was the first arc, and then every other arc
yeah.
was everything else.
Yeah.
But I think that's what they're gonna have to do. And I think, you know, the Disney shows are what's gonna set those up.
Yeah.
You know? And they haven't said right, WandaVision, this might just be a one-time thing, right? There might
It
not
is.
be.
No,
They
yeah,
said
no,
it hasn't
they
been renewed for a season 2.
they
Yeah.
said it's kind of a one-off. Some
And it should be, I think.
yeah, some of the shows are one-offs, and then some are like actual series. So like Moon Knight is going to be a series that's
Right.
like season 1, 2, 3, what have you. And
What I really
then
want, I want a Blade series. Give me a Blade series.
we'll see with Blade, but I was going to say we'll also see for, you know, these like other kind of shows that were around before Kevin Feige took over the TV part of the branch of the Marvel Universe, because I think with Spider-Man, if the rumor is true and Daredevil's in there, you know, is it going to be the Daredevil that we saw on Netflix? Is it going to be kind of like a reboot of the character? You know, is this the version of Daredevil that we saw, or is, you know, are they kind of like, okay, he's there, but you know, it's like he's not Daredevil yet, or they'll like kind of rewrite what they want
Yeah.
to do. So
I think my assumption is they'll probably do it like the comics. They'll slowly kind of start to change maybe the character a little bit in terms of his actions and things. I don't think it's going to be a full reboot, a full reset on the character. It's going to be more of a, okay, we want Daredevil to play this role in the future.
yeah,
So let's slowly just make organic changes to his character.
soft
I'm just
reset.
I'm more surprised that being in New York, like there's not other things, like little tiny things. Because I even figured in what was it, like inside of Far From Home, or even in Spider-Man, the easiest things they could have done is they literally could have had a newspaper that said the trial of Frank Castle,
right?
You know, and immediately go, oh, the trial of Frank Castle is happening right now, and it's in the papers.
Well,
right
I was gonna say because I think they already had the rights for, no, maybe they didn't, for Fantastic Four, but like that building that they kept saying, oh yeah, they're gonna sell Stark Tower, and you never found out the buyer. Like, you know, at the end of Far From Home, you could have been like, oh, the Baxter Building, you know, something like that.
Because I think it was between either Oscorp or the Baxter Building.
Baxter Building,
that was the two that they were really considering on who was going to be there.
And I think also with that too, I think they're going to be, you know, they haven't said much. They got to be real careful with Fantastic Four.
Yes,
because nobody's, well, Pixar got it right with Incredibles, but nobody else.
no one that's
gotten it right.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say no one that's actually adapting the Fantastic Four has gotten it right.
Right.
Like
it also has maybe the most recent stink on it, so maybe you want to kind of let it go away for a little while before you bring it back.
Fantastic Four was not good.
The thing that I would absolutely love, is to have Spider-Man interact with the Fantastic Four, seeing as he is a huge, like, I interact with the Fantastic Four often. Like, when I can't figure stuff out, I go talk to Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Or if I need to talk about some stuff, sometimes I go to talk to Sue, or I talk to Johnny. You know, these are just things that I do because he goes to go talk with other heroes because he's
right.
16.
The Spider-Man Human Torch friendship in the comics, that's, you gotta find a way to keep that going, because that's one of the best relationships.
Yeah.
Because I also
him and Daredevil too.
Bagman.
Yeah.
But I really want the Incredible Bagman in an episode, in a movie, because I think that would just be hilarious.
I just want the scene. I want the scene where Spider-Man goes to Johnny Storm for advice about girls. It doesn't work out, and then Sue sees him, and Sue goes, "Wait, you went to Johnny?
Why did you go to Johnny?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why?
Yeah.
It's the weirdest person to ask."
Yeah. But
I really do want that. I want that moment of just like Spider-Man's like, I don't have a suit. It just got destroyed by the Sinister Six. And then Johnny Storm's like, I got an old suit, but I don't got a mask, man. We don't wear masks here.
Yep.
And just puts a bag on his head and goes, "You're cool, go."
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to the Fantastic Four though in the MCU. Like a good Fantastic Four, a good Doctor Doom. Give me that.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
Well, I think
before-
that's why people were really disappointed when they were talking about a aerospace engineer, and then
right, like
it
Reed
wasn't-
Richards.
It wasn't Reed
and-
Richards or Doctor Doom or
It
anybody
was supposed to be
else.
Sue, I thought.
Will I?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
But again,
um,
that's more complaining about things we were never promised not showing up.
Exactly. That was all stuff
Yeah.
that we had put in our own head of like, we're going to
Exactly.
see Sue Storm next episode. Or,
Right. So just wrapping up here, we're a little short on time, but before we go, last topics for WandaVision. Are there any like theories behind the hacks or like how the show is going to end? Because we have the last 2 episodes before we do the next episode. Anyone want to throw out something out?
All right, here's my, and I don't have a theory on the ending.
Sure.
But my assumption is that the vision that's inside the hex,
yes.
that's Wanda, that's the part of Wanda's psyche that's trying to heal her through this process.
Yes.
And however the resolution comes when Wanda, I'm assuming they're gonna, try to make Wanda back to normal at the end, especially because this is going to be a 1 series thing. That's playing a role. And then the parts of Wanda that aren't ready to hear it is what's delaying Vision from getting back to her. I'd be interested to see where Agatha ends up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Agatha doing tough love to try to get her back to normal and she'll go back to helpful Agatha? Is this Agatha trying to train her as a weapon to use? Is this Agatha trying to harness her powers and discard her? I also want to know how much they're going to explain what chaos magic is, because after years of reading comics, I kind of maybe get it. But the MCU does a really good job of simplifying things, so I hope to learn what chaos magic is.
Yeah, they'll explain it better than Bendis.
Yes.
But I guess I totally believe that, like, whatever Vision is, because we saw when he gets out of the hex, like, he's basically coming apart. Like, he only exists in there, is what my understanding is. So
right.
I think there's a lot of credence to that theory that you just presented of,
because she has to let him go to end the hex.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was what I was thinking. I was thinking that for Evan Peters, because Evan Peters is going to be in this last episode.
Yeah.
I figured that what she was going to do is actually put her memories of Pietro into Evan Peters, and he was going to basically become not necessarily Pietro, but like a pseudo Pietro. He's going to still have his super speed. He's still going to have everything like that. But it was going to be this thing of when she ends the hex, she can then say goodbye to both Vision and also to Pietro, the 2 biggest tragedies in her life. Because for Pietro, he died. She didn't get to say goodbye. She was in the middle of, fighting off Ultron. For Vision, she watched him die, apologized for it, but then she had to then watch him die again. And I think that was the harder part.
Yeah.
And, I do think it's going to be like this moment of catharsis where she's forced, like you said, Rob, to accept what happened, come to terms with it, and say goodbye to those 2 characters.
And that's why, sorry.
Oh, yeah. And then also you were going to have this Vision who was going to combine with White Vision, and he didn't remember who Wanda was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of just like, she has to then go, my Vision's gone, and this guy is here.
Yeah.
And
I guess
he doesn't care for me.
I guess like Gamora, the second timeline Gamora, whatever that is, in Guardians 3. Yeah, I could definitely see that. My only thing was I thought like whatever comes into play with, like, if they use chaos magic, I guess my theory is like she's gonna upset something or find something amiss in the multiverse, because going back to what the Ancient One said in Endgame was, if you keep messing with the timelines, you're gonna cause like a problem. Yeah. And we never really saw a resolution to that, and they kept messing up with the timelines.
Yeah.
When they went back in time.
I think just going back to really quick, that scene with Wanda and Vision in the Avengers compound.
Yes.
When Vision's explaining, grief means you had love.
Mm-hmm.
And Wanda coming to understand that is going to be the key part in her development and the resolution of her in this storyline.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with White Vision or
Yeah.
you know.
Well, in the comics, what White Vision is that just like I forgot what causes that.
White Vision is an attempt to bring Vision back to life.
Back to life.
But he doesn't have the brain patterns, therefore the emotions. Because remember in the comic, his brainwaves are not based on Jarvis, it's based on a Wonder Man.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's basically he's an android. You know, he's an emotionless robot, which frustrates Wanda to no end because it's the body, the physical being. You know, think of how frustrating it is if, and again, not their fault, but when you have a relative with dementia who can't remember, right? How sad and heartbreaking and frustrating that is for you. And that's that was what Wanda's deal was in the comics. Here's this person I've loved, and he not only has no memories of me, which is one thing, but he has no feelings towards me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of the harder parts. I think they also do it in for Red Tornado in the DC comics too. They have
right.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's her character is a great exploration of grief. So
yeah.
I really think whatever's, besides our speculation, I really have a good feeling the last two episodes are really going to explore those themes well and just really like have like a really just profound statement. And yeah, I'm really just glad to see this strong storyline wrap up.
I'm just really interested to kind of see what happens with the twins.
We'll see.
Really,
yeah, we'll see because they want Young Avengers. I think that Kevin Feige has said that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And I'll be honest, as much comics I've read, and I've read almost everything Young Avengers, unless I go back and look, I can't remember how they became real in the Marvel Universe compared to them the first time.
It was House of M. She then she actually changed reality.
Back, okay.
And then when she changed reality, she then made herself physically pregnant inside of our reality.
Got you.
She then gave birth to Tommy and Billy.
Got you.
There you go.
Look, it could also go off the rails, and we could see Master Pandemonium.
Yeah, that's your theory.
No, it was my theory. It's no longer anymore because that would be absolutely ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. If it happens, I will laugh for an hour. But
I also think that it would have been interesting too is if Vision was able to keep the boys real. If she sacrifices Vision, you can keep the boys. But if you want to bring Vision back, you have to let the boys go.
Yeah.
Oof.
And I think that would be like another hard
Wanda's choice.
Yeah, it's a Wanda's choice of who do you have? Do you have the person that you love, or do you want your children?
Yeah.
And that would be kind of fucked up, but also that would be an interesting thing of her having to come to terms with losing Vision, and then Vision once again telling her to let him go.
Yeah.
And everything else. And I think that would be an interesting and emotional scene between all of them, because the child actors are amazing.
They're good.
Yeah, everybody's good in this.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing how exactly they resolve the series.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I have a good feeling. So, and I trust everyone involved in the show, so we'll see. But
and I'll say just one last comment. Sorry,
sure.
I just had to. I think this shows what Marvel's best at, and the one thing they will have to continue, the thing they always have to guard against as they add more series, is that the series themselves have a purpose as a series.
Yeah.
And they're not just the link to the next story. You can put the link in there, but the fact that, and again, going back to this being about Wanda's grief, when I was concerned that it was going to be, Agatha who created everything. They did it again, right? They have a standalone series that you can watch from the start to the end and get into the story, see character development, see emotional development, and it comes to a conclusion. And then if you want to watch the next one, cool. But you can watch this alone and it stands on its own.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, that's a good way to wrap up this episode. So I'm in complete agreement. And then until we re-meet, have another recording, which we'll have seen the finale in 2 weeks. Yeah, let's keep that in mind. But really quick, Nick, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. You can find me at the Nick Valero. Also, I am doing a lot of guest spots on Twitch with a buddy of ours who is doing Delta Monkey Gaming.
Okay.
Go check that out if you guys like Twitch, playing COD, goofing around, stuff like that. It's a pretty good time.
Gotcha. And then
Go ahead. No.
Oh, no. And then Rob, anywhere that you would like to, anything?
Yeah, I still have a MySpace, so I'm looking for people for my top 8. So yeah, go ahead, hit me up on MySpace.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I'll put you in my top 5 for sure.
Oh, awesome, 5. I'll be happy with 8.
There you go. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892. You could follow the Waffle Press at the Waffle Press on Twitter and at the Waffle Press Podcast on Instagram. We're on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Patreon, Spotify, and please like, share, subscribe there. Will you find something you like, or maybe, I don't know, you can find something you don't like, still subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We've been Professionally Unprofessional.